Creating a family looks different for everyone. There are many reasons why people cannot biologically produce a child. We know now that it is not a given. Thanks to assisted reproductive technology, I was able to create my own family because genetically, I am challenged. I wanted to talk about my experience and normalize women of color struggling with this too. I kept hearing too many people say that intended parents don't talk about this. We do. I do. There is incredible technology that goes into making assisted reproductive life, and our country is one of the global leaders of this groundbreaking sector. The first child ever produced via IVF is only in her early 40s today. Culturally, the science of it all can be challenging for some people that are around you, and they will never change their beliefs regardless of the facts. I personally could not have stayed on this road less traveled on if it wasn't for the support around me of certain family and friends. I didn't then know about the community that exists for those of us affected by different types of infertility. I'd like to share with you through this podcast to my community the information, my process, and hope that it's helpful. You're listening to Mothers in Arms. It is March 17th, 2025. I'm your host, Leslie Lopez, and this is episode number 9, Mr. and Mrs. Collins. March is Surrogacy Awareness Month, and I wanted to showcase my surrogate team, Mr. and Mrs. Collins. Mellisa and Brian came into my life through an agency I had signed up with. It was about 8 months that I waited for a California surrogate. At the time, I really did not want to be on a different state as my surrogate mother. I wanted to be close as possible to feel as part of the process as possible. I waited and passed up other surrogates that had been presented to me, but they were out of state. Mellisa had been a surrogate before. I was actually her third journey. The fact that she had experience doing this was so helpful. She was the expert in guiding me through the process that I went through alone. The fact that she had her husband by her side as a supportive partner through every minute of what she had to go through, as well as their children, it was so inspiring to me. She was always so positive, even when we were unsure of which hospital we were going to be delivering at the very last minute. I mean, yeah, we had curveballs. They definitely came our way, as curveballs do in this process. But her calmness brought such peace of mind at a time that felt so out of my control. It was COVID, so we did have new hurdles to overcome that they both had not faced before. We actually transferred my embryo at the beginning of March 2020. But we were a team and communicated and supported each other through all the times that we felt were like a twilight zone. I'm so grateful for these angels, for giving me the chance to be a parent. All that they sacrificed in order to give the gift of life, I will be eternally grateful to them for this dream come true. It's kind of cool how you were talking about, and maybe you can explain a little bit about how you guys came to decide, like, oh, maybe we can do that. Like, I was curious if there was one of you that was a little more into it than the other one was, if there was any kind of convincing as to, yeah, I can do this, maybe we should do this, or was it just both of you was just sort of like same page?
I feel like it really just I think it originally started of me Googling possibly donating my eggs or something like that. And then it was just kind of on the back burner, nothing serious, nothing that we had really dove into. And then we were at a family barbecue. It was at my aunt's house, and she had a couple friends over, and we were just kind of sitting around the edge of the pool talking. And she had mentioned that she was in between surrogacies and kind of gave us just a real quick, like rundown of just like, yeah, I did it once before, doing it again. I'm kind of in between. But didn't go into a lot of detail. Like we were at a big barbecue. It was like a whole thing. It wasn't an in-depth conversation by any means. So we both, I think I probably brought it up to you later on and was like, hey, like, I'm going to look more into this and I'm going to get some details on it. Like, I'm going to see what it's about, like what's involved in it. What are the requirements? Like, I'm sure just not anybody can walk into an agency and just be like, I'm going to have somebody's baby. Like, I'm sure it's got to be like an in-depth, like a process for sure. So
Do you
I feel like
remember
that's
what your
kind of,
reaction was, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I had probably the same reservations that most people who have never heard of it or never thought of it or never looked into it, was just like, I don't understand the process at all. Like there was, I was fully under the impression that it was like, oh, as a surrogate, they were going to impregnate my wife and then she was going to carry that baby and then we were going to give that baby away. And so I was just like, I wasn't, I guess, against it, but I was just like, I'd like to know what the actual terms of the, process look like. And that to me was the biggest, my only like, well, I guess maybe, but like, I'd like to know how this works first.
yeah.
What are the steps?
Yeah.
I remember specifically telling her that I was like, well, I'm okay with it, but like, I don't want the husband's sperm inside your body. I want it to be outside. Do it outside, and then put the embryo in. And so I had no clue that that's not how it works at all. And so for me, that was my initial reaction, was like, as long as it happens outside the body, like I think I'll be okay with it. And then as we learned about the process, obviously, I was like, oh, yeah. We're just the oven. All of the buns and all of the baby stuff happens elsewhere, and it's nothing genetically. I was just like, oh, yeah, we're just cooking this thing. I'm good with it. Like, I will be there and support that. Yeah.
But you're not wrong to have, right? Like some surrogacies in some countries, it is different. It isn't through IVF. So you were right to be like, wait, like.
Yeah. Well, and I do know that some agencies will allow the surrogate to also be the egg donor as well. And so that was something that I was like, that's how I originally thought it was. I thought, it was basically just, hey, we're going to use all of your bits to make a baby and then, hand it off. And so that kind of freaked me out a little bit. But once we realized that was not the case, and the agency that we ended up finding when she was doing all of her research and everything was, they don't typically allow that at all unless it's like a very extreme, very specific case. And I think they kind of talked about that a little bit, but they were just like, that's not the normal way it's done. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm in.
Right. And so then, fast forward to you guys, signed up with the agency, you're waiting, you're cleared, you found your first family. Mellisa, what did your family say when you said, I'm doing this?
Well, I feel like we were on a trip. We were in Sedona for my birthday with my parents. And we kind of told them like, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing. And when I say thinking about, like, we were already pretty deep into the process. Like, we had already made up our minds, we were doing it. And I think that it was the concerns that you would expect, like, health-wise, like risk-wise, like emotion-wise, like, are you gonna be able to do this? Like, what are the risks involved? Like, are you sure you want to do this? And we both of our families are fairly religious, fairly like, obviously that's a question. And like, is this the right thing to do? Like, and I feel like it's all very, like normal concerns. Like, what are the risks involved? Like, obviously being pregnant, there's risks involved. And like I feel like you figure out a lot of, like, when you fine tooth that contract that we have to sign in order to be like, okay, basically everything that could possibly happen, we have a game plan for. So it's like, even some things that you couldn't possibly not like think of, like, is kind of laid out in the contract in front of you when we sign it. Like, well, what are your plan? Like, if this happens or this happens. So all of those were concerns of our family, like health wise and, obviously like emotionally, like you're going to carry this baby for 9 months and then you give it to their family. Like, are you going to be okay with that?
I think that was a lot of I think the biggest concern was, how are you going to be able to be detached from this situation enough to give this baby away? And
like detached, but not detached. It's
Right.
very like
I feel like I got that a lot.
You're
as
not
well.
completely
a lot?
detached from the, yeah.
Yeah, just people, when I would tell people, oh, my wife's pregnant, and they'd go, oh, congratulations. And if they were close, I would just be like, well, it's not our baby. We're doing a surrogacy for a family, that sort of thing. And then you'd get the same, like, what? Oh, okay. Like, how is that going to work? Like, you cool giving that baby up or whatever? And it's just like, obviously, when you work with the families, like you know what their history is and their story is in the process to try to get pregnant, and all of those things, and or the impossibility of getting pregnant for some of the couples, and so it's like you obviously you feel for those people, and there's a lot of empathy that goes into the whole situation anyways, being a surrogate and making the choice to do that. So I've like having that empathy also is vital in being able to go like, look, I want to help you have this baby, and we want to support you in that, and we are willing to cook this baby, for lack of a better term, with us, and take care of your baby for 9 months, and then give it to you very gladly, very happily, without any regrets or any sort of, I would say, bad emotion, right? Like, it's all like, you think like, hallelujah, I'm so happy that we were able to give you this, and it's such a cool experience. So the first one was definitely a little bit, it was new. It was all new. So the second and third were much easier to, already know what we were kind of going through. And it was more of just going through the motions. But, the emotion is there to say, oh, we're so happy to be able to do this,
Right.
Yeah.
So also the questions from your family, or the comments from the peanut gallery of sorts, sort of calm down come second and third surrogacies, or did they sort of kind of continue?
No, I feel like they definitely calmed down, and it was more of like, again, really? The second time? And then the third time, there was, I feel like, okay, well,
that's what you want to do, I guess.
Like, so I feel like once, like the process was explained, and like the risk levels were kind of like, we figured out that like it wasn't going to be a huge risk. Like, obviously you take a risk when you do anything like this, like even getting pregnant on your own, it comes with its own set of risks. But I feel like after that, it was fine, and not as big of a deal, I think, as it was the first time we broke the news. Like, I think that was a little bit of I think it was like, I want to say over the last like 10 years, it's definitely become way more common. So I feel like 10 years ago ish, give or take, when we started this process, that it was like kind of new, like ish, like I
wasn't
know
as mainstream
personally a few people in my life that have done it, and I feel like from when we did it, we were like, other than the one family member or family friend that we'd never.
That was the only person I'd ever heard of in my life doing it, and then since we've done it, I feel like we know.
Yeah, a good friend of our sister's done it.
A girl in my office, one of our agents, is in the process of being a surrogate, and so like it's so much more popular now.
Yeah, it's
right.
more
accepted. Maybe not popular, but more accepted, and more, I feel like
more well known.
Yeah, more well known.
I feel like social media has a lot to do with that too, because everybody basically documents everything that they do.
Yeah,
for the most
right.
part. So.
Right.
And even like the kids being younger, like when the first time we did it, obviously the kids were 6 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
So they were pretty young, and they, had the basic questions like, is this going to be our sibling or something like that? Like, how are they going to be related to us? And
Emily said, can I name it?
Our daughter
can
said,
I pick the name?
She wanted to pick the name, and we said, no, we cannot do that. Like, those are the parents' choice.
This is 6 and 8 were Melissa's kids at this point, right?
Yes.
And at this point, how old are your children, Brian, at this point?
So my kids, I don't, My kids are like 2 years older than them, so I think they'd have been 10 and 11. That's
Got it. But they weren't living with you. It's Melissa's children
No.
living with you.
Yes.
And that's
Correct.
why it really affects them so much, obviously.
Right, yeah.
Like
them, it was a daily thing for them. So
Mhm. Yeah.
and so they saw, the process or whatever, and it was like we didn't want to surprise them and be like, oh, like just one day she's pregnant, and
Right.
they're like, what's going on, So we we sat down with them. I think we met with meet with them? We took them down and we met with them, so they were kind of involved with the process. Had lunch with the guys a couple times, and did that whole thing.
Yeah.
So that they kind of understood it, and they were just like, oh, okay, if that's what we're doing. And then the second one, they were even less interested. And the third one, they were just like, they were older, so we didn't even have to for the third one, I feel like we didn't even need a babysitter for them, right?
No, we just
because the first two, we had her mom come out and stay for the labor and everything, and kind of stay at the house and make sure they got to school and that sort of thing. And
this time
6
we
and 8. That's you need
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last with Elise, it was more of like, okay, well, we're going to the hospital, and like their dad lives fairly close by. I feel like at our other house, it was a mile away, less than a mile. So it was.
I remember
Give
that.
him a call. Give him a call. Let him know we're leaving. The kids are at home. They're in bed. Like, he was close by, so it wasn't like they were.
Yeah, and
they
they
were
were fairly, self-sufficient. They fed themselves and that sort of thing. So we're just like, okay, this is what's happening. We'll see you guys. We assumed we saw them. We would see them the next day or whatever, because it was kind of late at night when we went down, and
didn't expect it. We didn't expect to stay.
Didn't expect to stay for like 4 days. So that was definitely different.
I remember the agency referring to you guys as like, pros, right? Because like you'd done this twice before, and it was like, I think I remember her saying, "Oh, the dream team," and I was like, "Yes,
They did.
yes,
They did love
are.
us. They really did love
they
us.
Are."
That's funny.
But because you did this, for so many years, I mean, you've heard it all. Melissa kind of shared a little bit about like some of the cringeworthy, silly things that people ask you. Like, I was wondering, Brian, and Melissa, if you like, what was the silliest thing you got?
Just mainly like they would ask like, is this half yours? Like, are you like basically like, are you going to be able to give this baby back? And like, just things like that. Like,
I think that was almost always that was always the thing. It was just like, oh, like, so like you guys made a baby, like, is it an adoption situation? There's just, I feel like it's just general ignorance in the process and how it works, because most people just assume that we made a baby and we are going to give it away for somebody,
right?
To somebody. And
or just like not being able to, like, well, what happens if you change your mind? Well, there's no changing your mind. Like, that's not really how this works.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like that was the gist when we went to the hospital. It was that you guys made a baby and you were giving it away. Like, that was like what the hospital, that was the tune of the hospital a bit, It's funny.
Yeah, I feel like it seems weird that the hospital that we ended up delivering at wasn't a little bit more familiar with the process. Like, and I don't know, maybe we just, luck of the draw, just happened to get the hospital that had no idea what was going on. But I feel like it was never like that. The first Pomona Valley we delivered, which I delivered both of my kids at, and the first surrogacy at the second surrogacy at Pomona Valley, the first one we did at Loma Linda. And nobody seemed like, it was just like, okay, this is what we're doing. And this is who's involved. And this is like basically your role in the situation. And we're going to go with it. This is what's going to happen. I feel like at our hospital, it was just like, what's going on? Who's going to be where? What's happening? Like, who are you? Where's this baby going? And it was just like, get with the program. Like, how are you like so behind?
Yeah. I mean, like, what were some of those worst moments that you had, like, out of all the journeys, was there just something that was just like, God, that was really tough? I mean,
I want
you
to
didn't
say
sign up for
hours.
this. What's
Well,
that?
hours for sure. Like 1,000,000% the COVID and not having you there every doctor's appointment. I feel like when we first signed up for the whole thing, like our goal was like, I don't want to do it from somebody from another country. I don't want to do it from somebody from Indiana. Like I want to do it from somebody from Southern California. I want them involved. I want them at every doctor's appointment. I want like a part of the whole process. Like there was a lot of girls that had done it from couples from China or England or Australia or wherever. And it's just like they had a FaceTime relationship and then they basically flew in a week before the due date or a week before and kind of got like, sometimes it was a little bit more like maybe a month before, but it was like they weren't there for the whole process. And that was really important to us to have like you be there and the other intended parents that we did it for be there through the whole time. So when you were from like the LA area and so were our other two parents, like everything was kind of met in the middle. Like we'd do the doctor's appointments, we'd meet for lunch, you'd have your questions, you'd be able to meet with the doctor and you'd be there for the delivery. Like any spur of the moment, like, you never know what's going to happen. Like you need to make a trip down and like, we were all within driving range of, anything that happened. And that was really important. So when we had to deal with COVID, it was very much like, well, shoot, like this isn't what we planned. This isn't how it was supposed to be. Like, obviously we did the transfer together and it started out great. And then it was just like, no, you're not allowed to be here. Like it's only me. Like nobody's allowed to be with me. It's all by myself. It's very different and not what we expected. And then obviously like my goal was to deliver in one of the two hospitals I was familiar with, Pomona Valley, Loma Linda. Loma Linda has obviously a great reputation and like just a great hospital in general. And then Pomona Valley, I enjoyed all of my experiences there. And it was kind of in the middle between us. So it's like, if you needed to go over there real quick or, whatever. It was kind of like between you and me, like 45 minutes, hour-ish, depending on traffic. Like we could just it was super convenient. And so that was my goal is like, well, I have these two doctors in mind that did my other surrogacies that we loved, that were so great. And I just wanted to, was like one of the two. And it was just like, nope, you can't do that. Like you're not within your change this, do that, call the insurance, change your primary care physician, your medical group. And it's just like, if I have to hear the words primary care physician one more time in my whole life, I just might.
I think for sure that was the hardest part for me. I mean, not just the yo-yoing before, but the 2-year aftermath of you
crazy.
trying to get out of what that insurance did to your personal record.
I don't even care about that. It was more of like,
I
have to call these people one more time. Like my brain can't even wrap around what is going on right now. And It was like not knowing where you're going to deliver and not having like an actual delivering doctor from like you get released from your, like the IVF doctor, what was it, like 10 weeks?
12 weeks.
10 weeks, 12 weeks along, you're just like, okay, now you're released to your normal OBGYN and you move along with your appointments in a fairly normal manner, like a regular pregnancy.
The last 6 months is like all the normal stuff.
It did not work out that way. It was just like one headache after another. And it's just like, I don't know if it was because of COVID and everybody was basically on high alert because of that. And in addition to just insurance being crazy, but it was definitely out of all of the surrogacies that was just like, this is not how we wanted it to be. Like we wanted it to be, obviously smooth sailing and it was a healthy pregnancy and all of that, which was great. And, our end goal for sure. But I feel like the process was definitely different and definitely not ideal.
Not knowing that you weren't safe in that last leg after you had delivered, not talking physically, but just credit score wise, like being affected in that way, you know, like I know it was affecting your mental health. I'm sure it was affecting you in other ways that, you know, it was as much as it's so silly to me that they wouldn't just let us pay, that it had to come out of the escrow. Like it was just the silliest thing to me that they wouldn't just take the money out of the escrow and get paid after, how it had to go on so long. It just doesn't make sense still to this day.
Yeah, it was wild for sure. Like it was, I don't know. I just feel like at that point, like during the pregnancy and all of the stuff with the doctors and being given the runaround about which doctor I can see and can't see and in network and out of network. And then after everything, just being like, okay, fine, just assign me to a hospital so I have a game plan. And then it's still not being in network. And I'm just like, what the heck even happened? Like, if I was going to go through all of that, I should have just showed up at Loma Linda and delivered there.
Like, I'm having a baby. Let's do this.
They're not turning me away at this point. And I feel like, honestly, that's probably what we should have just done.
That's probably what we should have just done. Showed up at Mona Valley, showed up at Loma Linda, and just been like, I'm having a baby.
Gonna have to go through the hassle anyways.
Yeah, we got to figure all this crap out at the end anyways. Who cares? I mean, I remember just every time she would talk to the insurance company, and this is after the baby was born, obviously, you know, you guys were good and everything. And I feel like she was like, okay, she had this notebook of, you know, every single time she called, who did she talk to? What did they say? What did they say the next steps were? What were the next follow-up dates? And then she would just keep this
reference numbers.
Yeah, reference numbers and case numbers and all of these things. And then, every single time though, it was just like, okay, yeah, we heard about that. And so we have to go through this next thing. And then they would direct us over here, and then they would direct her over here, and then over here.
It's just like a big circle, a big loop.
You know, it was like, oh, because it was insurance, medical group, hospital. And then each one would give the other one the responsibility. So they would say, oh, well, now we have to go over here and talk to this person at the hospital, go over here, talk to this person at the medical group. And so we were doing this back and forth. And eventually she got so stressed out. It was just like, I would start calling for her and like writing down notes and stuff like that and trying to figure out what's going on. Cause I was just like, I don't know, maybe you're just saying the same thing, or maybe they're hearing the same thing, and and it was crazy. And then I got nowhere. So she started taking it back up again. And then I do remember the last day that the last time you had like your phone call with them, when they said, oh, you have a zero balance, like after everything got kind of done, or the last check that was sent or whatever. I mean, I just remember hearing say, I want you to say it one more time. We have a zero balance. Yeah. We are done. This is over. We owe nothing.
Like,
nobody owes anything. I don't
have to talk to you again. I'm so happy.
I mean, I almost want to say that day maybe marked in our calendar as a, you know,
a new holiday.
A new holiday. Like we never have to talk to insurance again on that day.
What's that day?
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. Yeah, it was a lot, but you know, I mean, that thankfully is done, and you know, obviously we don't have to worry about that anymore. And I think we know that for next time, we're just showing up on the day of the hospital and just being like, oh, we'll figure this out.
For next time,
I know.
She's looking at you like, what?
No, there's not next time.
No,
there will
I
not
think
be
we're definitely retired.
Yeah. It's retired the uterus.
You know, I've always said that I feel like the partners of surrogate mothers are these they're unsung heroes in their own right. Like the amount of support that I can't even imagine, honestly, like what it was like, Brian, for you to walk in these shoes all these times. Can you just share a little bit about like your experience and
I mean
your favorite moments?
I mean, I feel like most of the time it's, you know, I don't have to do any of the heavy lifting, obviously. Like my role is, you know, comfort and, you know, support.
Feed me.
Yeah, I definitely had to feed her, you know. I feel like the first pregnancy, her hugest craving was ice and the little pellet ice. And so I eventually just went down, because she would stop every single day and buy a cup of ice from this gas station or whatever. And I went down there and I'm just like, dude, like, let me fill up a giant bag, please. I'll pay you whatever you want for it. Like, but you know, the daily trips or whatever. So we ended up getting like 10-pound bags of that pellet ice or whatever from one of the gas stations. They would let me go in and fill it up, and I'd pay like $10 for a bag of this stuff. And we'd keep it in the freezer just so that she had, you know, ice to chew on all day long, which is so like, okay, that was interesting.
Crucial.
And then the second surrogacy, what was it? It was pepperoncinis and pickles. It was tangy. It was the vinegary thing or whatever. Like she had to have everything had pepperoncinis or pickles on it. Like it was, if it was vinegar, balsamic vinegars, any kind of vinegar. She loved that stuff, and every meal had it on there. I don't remember what.
Did you have a craving for the third one?
Yeah, I was
trying to think.
I don't feel like there was anything like super crazy, but
I remember feeling like for the first like 4 months, I felt like super
icebreakers.
Oh yeah, I felt like obviously the morning sickness, but it was kind of an afternoon thing. I'd have a window in the morning when I first woke up between 8 and 10 in the morning where I felt okay, and I try to get my shower done, get a little laundry started, like whatever. And then after that, it was kind of downhill until I went to bed. And I was just like, it's the weirdest thing. And it sounds like I always used to tell him my face felt sour. And I was just like, I just don't feel good. Like, I just feel like off. And I felt okay while I was eating. Like during I'm in the process of eating, I felt fantastic. But as soon as I'm done, I'm like, oh, I don't feel good. So it's like, I always wanted to be like sucking on a mint or like have a little snack, because it's like while I'm actually eating, I don't feel half bad. Right. But it's just like, you can't eat all day long. Like that does not work.
No.
So, but it's just like, well, so we would get the icebreakers, little sour candies, and I would just like suck on those.
I started buying them by the tube, like the Sam's Club, the wholesale pack instead of the individual retail pack. Because, I mean, she was going through like 2 of these things a day. I feel like now she can't look at them without feeling nauseous, because it was
I feel like a little PTSD from the morning sickness.
Morning sickness PTSD for sure. Because you don't have that emotional, like, this is my baby, I'm carrying it or whatever, you know what I mean? I feel like sometimes the things that you have to go through aren't as thought of as with as much love, because you're like, oh, I'm doing this for my baby, that sort of thing. So I've like wanted to make sure that she was as comfortable as possible, and whether that was, making food for her, getting her snacks or her cravings or whatever, and having the job that I have that's a lot more flexible. Like I get, I was able to do that, and I feel like I was able to be there for her more than probably the average person, because I have a flexible job. So I can, be out, I can leave for 2 or 3 hours and come home and work the rest of my day from home, and be able to give her, be there for her when she's just like, I just don't feel good. It's like, okay, well, I can help pick up the slack on those types of things.
And also I feel like being at home all the time because of COVID, like usually if you feel a little bit weird or whatever, kind of taking your mind off of it, going for a walk, going out to dinner, going shopping, going to work, whatever. It's just kind of like you doing your everyday activity is just kind of like, well, I got to get up and get moving, kind of take my mind off of it, like whatever. But basically you're stuck at home and not really going out to dinner or going to work, going to the grocery store, and things were not things you just did.
Time.
Yeah. You just didn't go wander around the mall because you just wanted to take a walk or, whatever. It's like, no, this was something that you like take extra precautions when you did now. And it was just like, if you didn't have to go anywhere, you didn't. And it was kind of very like,
you get locked in your head, stuck in your head a little bit.
Yeah. And then when you're just not feeling so good anyways, it's like, I need to do something. Yeah. Those icebreakers saved my life.
Do you still are you still doing the food for her? Are you still she's still recovering. Her body's still, I'm not telling you what to do. Just
No, right. Yeah. No, taking care of me 100% the whole time. Like it's a lot easier to recover when you don't have a baby to take care of. So I feel like you can more just concentrating on the resting part and not, the taking care of the baby part, which is a little bit different, but definitely especially after C-section, there's a lot more involved in the healing process. So I feel like, definitely all hands on deck for at least the first couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, and then for the few weeks after the first couple of weeks, when she goes, I'm feeling better now, and I still got to make sure that she's resting, because she doesn't want, I'm bored. I don't want to sit here anymore. I don't want to be on bed rest anymore. I don't want to do this. I'm fine. I can walk more. And it's like, no, you can't. Just because you feel like you can doesn't mean something inside's not going to, yeah, so making sure that she's following the doctor's orders was also a big thing, but continuing to feed her, of course, and keep her entertained while she's recovering, and trying to think of things that we can do during that process.
Yeah.
So, but I've it also, there's the lull of, this is usually when you're talking to, or when you're going through the process, it's not just like the 9 months of pregnancy, right? It's the 6-7 months beforehand with all the IVF stuff and the
shots
and
and
all your the hormone treatments and stuff like that, which I gave her all her shots as well. So I got to learn all about syringes and how that works out. That was very interesting because I'm not like a blood medical person at all. Like, my dream was never to be a doctor or a nurse or any sort of bodily anything person. So we had a lot of activities, for the last year and a half, year plus. And then once the surrogacy is done, there's like this, all right,
oh yeah, now what
do we do now?
Yeah, there was a lot of like, well, now what? Everything was a lot of like, our whole lives revolved around the surrogacy for a whole year plus. So it's like, after it was over and after the healing process was over, and I was just like, okay, well, now what do we do?
Yeah.
I feel like we really, like, after the first time, after we delivered the twins and like came home from the hospital, and like we stopped and grabbed something to eat just real quick, like ran through a drive-thru or something, and we're just like kind of sitting in the car and going, well, now what do we do?
Yeah.
So it was definitely like I almost want to say, you get that, like, you plan this big vacation, you have this big vacation, you come home from the vacation, you unpack, and you're just like, well, shoot.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this vacation for months. Now what do I have to look forward to? Yeah.
Yeah.
What were your hopes? I mean, do you feel a little bit connected forever for life?
No, I mean, 100%. I've like the first surrogacy that she did was she had twins. I would say we, but she had them. I did very little. I've just fed her, but we keep in touch with them, many, many times a year. They have, like, through Facebook and through just
social media is so convenient because, life is busy and you don't want to lose touch with people, but it happens, and, you get carried away and whatever. But it's nice when everybody's a little bit active and posts the pictures and the events and things. And it's like, when, you can't make it to, like, obviously every weekend, every other weekend or whatever. It's just, it's nice that you can kind of keep in contact and like keep up to date on like the happenings without actually having to like be there so much. So it's like, they live far and like we haven't seen them in a few years, but like we know, and they send pictures and like obviously updates on social media, and we've always been kind of open to like the contact level that is comfortable with the attended parents. Like, we never wanted to be like, well, I need to be a part of this baby's life. Like, that's not a thing that we did. Like, obviously these are your children and your lives and, whatever. And it's just like, it is really great that it's been to where we've had like such strong relationships with the people we've done it for. And it has developed more into like extended family and very close and like somebody that like, you want to be a part of their lives and stuff. And so I feel like we've gotten really lucky all three times that it's just been really, really like really great like that. So I feel like, but we've always been really like, okay, well, they might not want like us around so much, or they might not want like, maybe it's, you don't know how that's going to go, like whatever, but we've gotten really lucky with it. So I feel like it's kind of been like what we would have wanted.
Yep.
And like, that makes me super excited. Like, when we like picked families that were close in the LA area and, within a couple hours of each other, that like, if we want to pop down and do lunch or, like meet at a park one day or do whatever we're going to do, like, it's possible.
Is there someone in your life that you sort of another another partner of a surrogate mother that or that you're sort of guiding or giving advice to?
Our agency had group meetings that we would go to once a month or something like that, and we would kind of talk about, everybody would kind of talk about it. There were definitely some partners that would come as well, and so I don't have a problem talking about what we went through and the things that we did and all that stuff. So
I think that they would ask you questions,
Yeah.
especially like we didn't do the meeting so much the third time around because at that point COVID and they weren't having the
they were
meetings.
doing Zoom.
But during the second time, I feel like that they would direct questions specifically to you for new partners and new supportive people that like, hey, maybe like, how are you handling this, to kind of guide them in the meetings mostly.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, like, was that part of the program with the agency where, yes, you were getting mental health, but were you, Brian, also getting that besides the group, in the group setting? Was it offered to you to have that option?
I feel like the group meetings were, because it was a support group, and I feel like I really enjoyed going to them because I would watch what she was going through, and then when I would go to those meetings, I would kind of be able to, I don't know what she's listening to or like how she's reacting to all this or whatever, but I'm thinking like, oh, okay, these people are all having very similar problems. Like, I think, how can I help her with those problems that is within my power? I mean, a lot of the internal things and the medical things, wherever, like I don't have any way to help that. But, to be like, oh, I'll drive you to the appointments and make sure that, you don't have to stress out about traffic or, those types of
how
things.
You do the
like
shots.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that was definitely not anything that I ever thought I would have to do or want to do. But like the first time, it was definitely hard. It would take me like 10 minutes to get to do one. I was just like, okay, I'm going to do it right now. Okay, I'm going to do it. But
it was nice that it started out with tiny little needles and then progressed to
those giant Lupron needles were nasty. But so I just feel like going to the groups and hearing that other people were having similar problems or the things. It was
like kind of a preview on what you had to come, because everybody at the groups were in different stages. Like some of them still getting together their medical records, some of them going through the transfer process, some of them, 6-7 months
they're sitting back there just like 9 months later. She's like, 3 days. I got 3 days and then I'm done.
Yeah. And then some of them telling their birth story on, you got to see all the stages. So no matter what stage you were in, you kind of had a little bit of a preview on like what to come and like a little bit of advice from people. Like we would get advice from people who had done it before our first time around. And so they would be like, hey, Brian, do you have any questions for this partner or whatever? And it kind of went back and forth. So when we were the experienced ones, they would kind of direct that, hey, do you have any advice for these newcomers that, are just dipping their toes in the water? But the support groups, I feel like were very helpful.
Yeah.
And like, other than that, it was never really offered to us like a counseling. We did have like a meeting with their counselor kind of to just make sure that we were like, not crazy and not, they like, you make down at her office and kind of just go through like a little, like one-on-one kind of between us and just like initially when you go to qualify. But after that, I feel like the support group meetings were the
main
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, I never felt like, oh, I wish I was offered more. And then I feel like when we were doing it through Zoom, it'd be like 3 people, 2 people, 4 people. Like, nope, it was a lot less participation. So I just felt like not only are you going through the COVID thing, but also the support seemed less, which was at no fault of the agency because all of their people showed up. It was just like, I think that it just feels less personal when you're trying to do it over a camera rather than when you're sitting in the same room with somebody. It definitely had more of an impact, I think. So that was a little bit of a struggle too, because I feel like the support wasn't as much. Just it didn't work out as much.
Yeah.
So
well, I've said it before, but if I could do 2 stars on Hollywood Boulevard for Mr. and Mrs. Collins, I mean, that's where you guys go. I mean, you guys have angel wings. I am forever grateful for all that you've done for my family.
Well, we're happy that we can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we wouldn't change a thing. Like, obviously there was some hiccups, but I feel like at the end of the day, we'd do it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%.
yeah, for sure.
I know you would if you. Melissa's. You guys talk like you're. You guys talk like you want. Like, honey, you sure you don't got one more in you? Like,
I'm not going to lie. The thought has crossed my mind, but then I'm just like, you know what? I think I'm good. Like, I think I'm okay. I feel like my back end does not need one more shot. I think I'm okay.
She's probably still bruised.
I probably still am, like a little golf ball size bruise right on my butt.
you need to like do like a little tattoo around the shot, like that spot where you'd get the shots, like a little like this.
Yeah.
Just an
this
outline.
is it.
Anywhere in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere in here.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
But thank you, seriously, you two. Thank you for making the time and for today's conversation.
Of course,
Means
they're
a
happy
lot.
to be here.
Absolutely.
My heroes, Mellisa and Brian, will forever have angel wings. They're made of the strong stuff too, as you can hear for yourself. I was lucky with them. Mellisa and Brian were my lucky charms. You are not alone in the quest to become a parent, if that is what you want for yourself. My hope is that young people can pay attention to their body's reproductive side early on, like keeping a journal of your menstrual symptoms. You can be checked by your doctors for inconsistencies, for cysts, fibroids, or even low sperm count. It is in your best interest to catch this earlier than later, because you are born with all the eggs you'll ever have. I personally had to overcome self-shaming of not being able to physically carry my child. Even now, as I navigate my relationship with my boyfriend and co-parent, whom I cannot give a biological child to because I have no more viable eggs to give him, it can be heartbreaking. It can feel like I'm going to lose him because I'm holding him back. Knowing I'm not alone in feeling this way, that there is a community of people going through similar circumstances, I'm able to find solace and navigate my emotions in a healthier way. Being supported when you feel like a physical oddball is such a game changer. That is my hope, that my untraditional path to becoming a parent can help with navigating yours. That wraps us up for today. Thank you to Alan and Mellisa at Pretty Easy Podcast for all of your help in co-producing this episode with me. You can find more of these and similar stories on Instagram and TikTok at mothersandarms.pod. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time.